Hey everybody, welcome to our Inferno Cast 007. This is where we are going to be discussing not James Bond or the James Bond franchise or GoldenEye. No, we are going to be getting those plastic instruments out and discuss Rock Band and Guitar Hero. And I, of course, am Inferno Fox. I am the owner of this YouTube site, and you can also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. And want to go ahead and run through our esteemed cast. We have joining us here, we have Simbu Darkfang. He is our level 5 grandpa and an actor for Basement of the Dead in Aurora, Illinois. That again is Basement of the Dead, Aurora, Illinois. Simbu, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here on a Tuesday evening.
Exactly. Maybe a day off, but that's all right. Not a dollar short. We also have Stormrosesky. She has the Twitch and YouTube channels of Stormrosesky. Storm, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about these games. So, hey.
Yeah, so am I. We got a lot of history with these particular entries. Yes. Also featured with us is Astrimedes. Astrimedes is, of course, a lead developer and co-owner of Second Place Games. Astrimedes, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Inferno Fox.
And finally, we have Jamie Owls 87. She, of course, is my partner in crime. Jamie Owls, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
And I want to go ahead and, before we get into the core topic, I want to go ahead and ask a preliminary question. This is a fun one. Who or what is your favorite video game character of all time? Who or what is your favorite video game character of all time? Storm, I am putting you on notice. Who is it?
Favorite video game character of all time. Pac-Man. I love the cartoon as a kid. Yeah, it's just Pac-Man is awesome, and yeah, I'd go to Pac-Man.
It's a good choice, classic choice.
Yes, I wish I had something else, but a close second just because he's really cute as Yoshi. But yeah, Pac-Man. There you go.
It's a shame no one else here in the chat likes Yoshi at all. Jamie Owls, who is your favorite video game character?
Well, you diss Yoshi, so for me it is Yoshi. I've always liked him since I was a kid. I would argue people if we're playing and someone selects Yoshi on me first. I'm not gonna let them have it.
I think that's probably part of the reason why they have so many different color Yoshis available in Mario Kart.
Yes.
So that everybody can be Yoshi if they want to be. Very true. And I always stick with the green color because, when you think of Yoshi, you think of green. And Astrimedes, who is your favorite video game character of all time?
I would say maybe kind of nostalgic little kid me would say maybe like the Link from the first Legend of Zelda, just like that little fantasy guy. Imagining like we talked about before, kind of sense of wonder of that game. And then I don't know, another sort of answer could be maybe I didn't play a lot of them, but I was briefly amused by like the Katamari games and what was the King of the Universe or whatever, just in terms of entertaining strangeness as a character.
It's funny too. I know that's kind of one of Jason the 13th's like favorite like secondary series. He likes the Katamari games, and they're just kind of strange. So it kind of fits that overall strangeness that's right up Jason 13th's alley. Finally, Simbu, who or what is your favorite video game character of all time?
Good Lord. You know what? My choice is actually not going to go with the classics. Because of my line of performance. I always appreciate the very sarcastic, the very quick-witted, fly by the seat of your pants kind of characters. So obviously, Deadpool from the Deadpool game is a great example. But I've got to go with Tiny Tina from Borderlands.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
And her character was only made even better by her Tiny Tina's Wonderlands when she voices the grand wizard like Astaroth kind of character. It's just so much. Just the dialogue is so much fun. So I got to give Tiny Tina that nod.
Hey, nice. That is a good choice. Wow, I all great choices, of course, but man, I like that. Mine, I think, probably favorite character of all time is probably Locke from Final Fantasy VI. Favorite Nintendo character is probably Luigi. Second favorite Final Fantasy would probably be Cloud. Mine are pretty, admittedly, they're boring. I feel like what y'all have are really good, fun choices. It's good discussion. I like it. All righty, cool. Go ahead and move on to today's topic, which of course is Guitar Hero and Rock Band. And Simbu, I know you and I have quite a bit of experience with this. And Storm, I know,
yeah.
we all have a lot of experience playing these games together in a lot of different ways and forms. Astrimedes, I know you and I have done Guitar Hero maybe a little bit, or you have at least watched me do that. I think we did a trip over to one of our friends, Billy Madison's. I brought that over. We had a good time, so that's a lot of fun. Just really curious. Those are kind of my experiences with you guys. What about you guys? What games did you end up playing in the series here? Am I between like the Rock Band games and the Guitar Hero games? I just have Amplitude because I can't find my Guitar Hero 1 and 2. I don't know where it's at. But what games did you guys play with that use the good old plastic guitars and drums?
The first one I owned was Rock Band 3. I had played Rock Band maybe once or twice randomly with people, as a lot of people's experience at the time was, and then ended up actually buying that one. I like the soundtrack a lot. Never owned any of them other than that. I played Rock Band on and off with a few people for a few months. I liked Rock Band. I feel like Rock Band was kind of knowing now like the history of the games, the fact that, Rock Band was literally the same developers that made Guitar Hero and kind of just iterated on what the formula was to make what I think kind of almost feels like a more sort of complete game. Like they're kind of like being on tour thing of Rock Band was pretty good and everything. But yeah, Guitar Hero 3 is the one I'm most familiar with specifically in the series.
That's
the
cool.
Series is.
What was, since Rock Band 3 had 5 different instruments, which one did you end up playing the most?
I did drums and vocals, but I thought like the vocals, I just always felt like I was cheating because it never sounded like singing. It sounded like talking into the microphone in the right way to make the bar do the right thing. And like
Inferno
it's
Fox.
I'm terrible at singing, but I wish I could. I like to sing to myself and only myself, and sometimes my wife in the car, and that's it. Because I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it. So like I did notice, I feel like maybe I felt like if I was alone with the game and I really did pay attention, not that it was perfect by any means, but it does give you this kind of like biofeedback sort of thing where you can at least get the idea of like, this is what raising my voice pitch feels like. This is what lowering it feels like with the things I'm doing with my throat, with someone with no training and no interest in doing it like that, but could use a video game to be convinced to gain skill. I mean, I don't know if there's tons of stories about people, learning guitar and even, drums from Rock Band, whatever, after getting interested from the games, I would be willing to bet it's a lot less people that did that with singing. Maybe because it's almost like, I don't know. To me, somehow it feels a bit different.
And it's funny too with singing, because I feel like that's the easiest, the most approachable one to do. You don't have to buy an instrument. You are your instrument.
Right. Yeah. But the drums were fun. And I think the drums were pretty slick because it's obvious, so obvious that it corresponds exactly to what you're doing. Seems pretty easy even to like make that match closer and closer to like the real instrument. I thought the drums were fun. Drums is also something I wish I was good at from interest in guys like Ginger Baker and stuff.
Oh man, Storm! If I remember right, you guys had the Rock Band series on your 360, right?
Yes, and in fact, that was the only reason we got the 360.
Really?
For Rock Band, yeah. Because we had first moved to Southern Illinois. Our friend Joe and his wife Colleen had it, and we kept going to their house that was like 30 minutes away from Carbondale to Anna just to play Rock Band. So we eventually got the 360 so we could play. But we had the Rock Band, ended up getting the whole series and a couple of Guitar Heroes. I had the Guitar Hero World Tour that had Slash in it. And of course, with Rock Band, spent quite a bit downloading music and whatever songs to it. So it was fun. I do miss that game. And we did play a lot of Amplitude and Frequency back when we had to play the PlayStation 1 back in the day before we sold it. So other than that, Rock Band, I had a friend of ours who had his band back in the day was Spiral Trance from Milwaukee. They had a song on Rock Band that we were able to download and play. And that was pretty cool.
They had this it was a 360 specifically that had this like Intrepid mode or Endeavor mode or something that actually had a lot of music, or allowed not up and starting artists, but like artists kind of breaking out into the scene, get their music converted and allow it to be downloadable to the 360. I'm trying to think of the phrase of it, because we had Rock Band on our PS3, and their version of that Endeavor mode, or whatever it was called, was like maybe 5% of what was available on the 360. It was really crappy, but yeah, it was. I remember when we went down to visit you guys in Carbondale, playing like, it was really, I think Rock Band 2 is what we ended up playing with a lot of the DLC, and it was really that got me into Poets of the Fall and a lot of their music.
Yes.
They were not available on the PS3 version, but they were on the 360.
Yep. And that was fun. I love Poets of the Fall, and they're in, they're big in Finland, but they're, indie big, I guess, here.
They're a good band.
Yes, they're fabulous. So, in fact, one of my tattoos is inspired by them. So it was cool to be able to play along with those songs. And of course, that's a great way for you guys to, again, that's a nice introduction to music. So that was exciting. That is another platform for these indie artists. I'm using, air quotes, because Poets, I feel, are a little bit bigger, but not to American audiences, unfortunately, which that's a whole different other topic and a whole different podcast about how crazy the music industry is. So, but it's cool that you learned about them from that game, and, so that is fun.
And it's funny because it makes me think of like, okay, how Metallica Master of Puppets blew up last year because of Stranger Things season 4. That the unfocused energy of that really was the Rock Band and Guitar Hero series, and how it really brought in a lot of that energy for some of the older music to this newer generation, being able to not just listen to it, but really experience it literally firsthand with all of the instruments and everything. Before I go down that hole, I want to ask Simbu, of course, because Simbu, he was my, like, if I was attached to the guitar, he was my lead vocalist. And we often had, whenever we had rock band nights, he was often there and leading the charge on the mic. Simbu, did you end up playing any of these games not with myself? Was there any that kind of caught your eye beyond playing like Rock Band 1 through 3 with us?
Yeah, my first experience with that was actually Guitar Hero 2. So I had the Guitar Hero 2 for the 360. You know, I played through 3. A girl I was dating at the time, she had World Tour. So, you know, we kind of dabbled a lot. You know, I kind of dabbled a lot playing on my own as well, because it was fun. It was something different. And of course, my buddies, you know, through Fire and Flame was always a hot point of contention who could get the higher score, because to hell with that song.
God, that song.
And only that song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll speak about efficiency and effectiveness of the instruments and stuff a little later on in the cast. So I won't go into that now. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I really did enjoy Rock Band. I did enjoy doing vocals and things like that. And it was always a lot of fun, especially at Inferno Fox, your big blowout parties and stuff.
Yeah, because we would. I remember Rock Band 3 having the most amount of options, where you could have the 5 instruments at once, and then the microphone, you could have 3 vocalists at once. And so, of course, that means you end up having like 7 people playing at the same time. And it really makes like the lane for doing the drums and the key, especially the keyboard. God, that was a nightmare to be able to see where the heck you needed to play. When it was like, so like this part of your screen is all that you can see the frickin' keys on. The guitar was bad enough, but man. And Jamie Owls, I know that you had played Rock Band 3 with me a little bit. Did you ever play the Rock Band or Guitar Hero series on your own?
So I never owned the games, but I knew people who had Guitar Hero, and my friend Laura had Rock Band. The first instrument game I played was Guitar Hero. I played a lot more of the Rock Band, and it was my friend Laura, who I know the first person who owned it. So when she invited me over the one day, I sat with her and played a few songs. I first tried out the drums because with Guitar Hero, I knew how to use the guitar for the game. But with the drums, I've noticed, I find that instrument to be, in my opinion, the hardest to play. Because I don't know if it's because with my dyslexia, trying to figure out right and left and trying to watch the screen at the same time. So I found the drums to be more challenging. But yeah, with you, Inferno Fox, I played a few songs when you had more people over and we had a party. And but yeah, I played more Rock Band, and I enjoyed Rock Band more because you have different options of what instruments you want to play or sing.
That's cool. Yeah, and as Astrimedes had mentioned, it really started out developer-wise. These games, of course, are made by Harmonix, and they solely make this music genre. And they started off with Guitar Hero, and all of the songs on Guitar Hero, I think there was only like 30 or something, relatively small amount. They were all covers, not actually done by the bands themselves. So when I really got into the music of it, and I take the time to find and download the songs, I'm like, why does this sound a little off? Why does this sound? Oh, that's because the whole time I was playing the little guitar, that wasn't the real version of the song. It was just like the cover, so I wasn't used to it as much. And then I think Guitar Hero 2, I think they actually had the real versions of it, and that from then on.
Yeah.
I think it was a mix though, wasn't it? 2 and maybe even 3 still has like some covers, but I mean the amount probably goes like this throughout of covers versus you know, the originals or whatever.
Yeah, and I remember in Rock Band, from Rock Band 1 and up, there was a way they designated the ones that are covers, and so that's what it is. It says "made famous by." So if it's
I remember that phrase now. Yeah.
So like it'd be exactly. So it was something where in Rock Band 1, I think there was only one song that was like that, and it was interesting too because this was an opportunity for Harmonix to kind of throw some of their own music on, like Guitar Hero, and especially on Rock Band. And Simbu, if you remember some of the pain with doing the endless set list, there was a couple of the songs that, you know, they made themselves. Like there's this one where it's like screamo metal, and there's like I forget what the name of it is, but
trying to think of Painkiller by Judas Priest?
I'm not. It's so that's how the endless set list ends. It's the third to last one. I don't know. I don't remember the name of it, but man, that was a nightmare. We'll just say. So I thought it was a really cool opportunity for them to kind of flex their music skills, but not for us to have to play them. But so. Simbu, you had mentioned about the efficiency and effectiveness of the instruments. Would you be able to elaborate on that?
Yeah. And Inferno Fox, Jamie Owls, of course. I believe Jamie Owls, you were there for some of my career with Rock Band. Again, as we, you know, we all have come to know that I am in a performance-based industry, and growing up having, you know, heard a lot of the songs, loved a lot of these songs, you know, showmanship, you know, becomes second nature to me when I'm playing stuff like this. So the biggest issue I found was trying to perform the songs the way that you heard them. For example, Down with the Sickness, David Draymond's famous growls, you know, while he's singing, like that raspy, growly, you know, Chicago, you know, type voice when he's singing the song. You can't do that on Rock Band.
Because it's not going to register, right?
It does not register the pitch. My pitch could be perfect, but throw in the Draymond growl, my line bottoms out, or it just doesn't register my vocals, which, you know, unfortunately led to, you know, it's eventually kind of like, you know, because especially when you're playing that endless set list, that 83 something freaking songs, you know. And Inferno Fox, to your credit, I don't know how in God's name you managed to do it so, you know, with your poise and monotone vocals, very unanimated self. You know, I gotta give it to you on that. I could never do it. The endless set list honestly felt like a drag to me because, again, I can't perform. There's not a lot to, you know, help me keep my energy up.
It would almost be better if it was like a camera and mic, and it did something where it's like, oh, you're like throwing a limb energetically in time with this here. Like we're gonna give you a bump in your performance, whatever. Yeah, like, what you're saying makes perfect sense, and like you're certainly right about like the limitations of like the mic, you know, to stick to the hardware topic. Like now that you mentioned it, I do remember seeing other people and sometimes encountering myself, like it being off the register, like in one direction or the other. It seemed like to where you weren't going to hit anything with it. And now that we talk about it, it kind of makes me think, you know, that as you mentioned, like monotone delivery, what that probably really amounts to is just like feeling out what the expected range of the mic is, and like you end up just giving this very staid, not energetic performance because you're just almost humming with it.
You're not even worried about following the sound of it so much as you're chasing the bar and you're kind of
you're like humming up and humming down almost is what you're doing.
When you don't know the lyrics, that's when you just kind of like move your voice up and down.
Yeah, just trying to find your place. Like, it really you got to be, and of course you got to be monotone if you have to freaking sing E4 songs in a row. Though Simbu, you got to give credit to me, but I have to give credit to you because we both did the endless setlist vocals on the hardest setting, expert. We did it separately, but we both did it, and
you're both crazy.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, we would. I believe we made a Saturday of it every time.
So we're going to have a brief respite from our general discussion to talk about our endless setlist cavalcade here. Simba, what do you think? So I was chasing this is in like the top 10 or even like top 5 of the hardest trophies and achievements that you can get in gaming, period. And it's in Rock Band 2. And it's the platinum trophy. And the only way you can get the platinum is if you do the endless set list on medium and harder and you don't stop. If you fail once, you lose it. You lose the opportunity to get the trophy. If you pause it, you lose it. You don't get that opportunity. So I remember it was me on, I think, hard guitar because I could not do medium. I'd be bored out of my mind and I wouldn't be able to do it. Simbu, I think we threw you on. No, you were on hard with me. You were on hard vocals because again, you had this. It was kind of the same thing. That's like, yeah, vocals is like the easy. It's the easiest instrument for you because you're the most skilled with it, performance wise and just modulation wise. So you did it on hard with me, and we had another person do drums just again to help back each other up in the event. Like if I cratered on that third to last song that I was mentioning, I of course cheated. I looked online and it's called Visions by Abnormality, and it's awful. If I cratered on that, then Simbu could back me up because you can save one another at least twice if you run out of energy. Oh my God.
Yeah. By use of star power. And I will say that probably the best thing about me doing the vocals for that was I always had star power.
Yes, you definitely had enough energy, and we freaking needed it in that last stretch because after Visions was Dream Theater's Panic Attack, and then of course, like you said, Painkiller, the last song of one of the hardest in the game. Holy crap!
Yeah,
God.
That was not fun on vocals. It's the equivalent, for those of you who have not heard that song before, it is the equivalent of singing Rush fast.
Oh, Rush, Storm, that's your favorite band.
No. See, I love Dream Theater, and they were influenced by Rush. Rush is a great band. It is Geddy Lee's voice that I'm not a fan of, and they're all great musicians, and I respect them for their arts, but I can't listen a whole lot because,
sometimes there's just a voice sometimes that just you can't do.
Yes, and unfortunately, his voice is one of them for me, and I respect the guy and think they're great, but yeah.
Thankfully, Simbu's voice is not that for me. I was able to handle 6 hours of Simbu singing without any issue. Then thank goodness he could handle the clickety clacking of the frickin' guitar from me and the clamping on the drums from our friend that played with us. Man.
You mentioned it just kind of laying out the endless set list thing, which I wasn't familiar with, and think the not being able to pause thing is sadistic, by the way. But
well, you can pause. The problem is that Inferno Fox is sadistic and wanted that stupid trophy.
Yes,
For
to get the trophy.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
if
playing...
that's not part of the mode, now I understand. But that was a side note. But I wanted to mention what you brought up with saving each other, because I think like that whole like mechanic is like a huge part, I think, of what made those games like so popular as like a group activity. And it's like, and it made it like, and it's great. It's a great design too, because it makes it like a way to make it even friendlier for like people that aren't as experienced to come in and play with people that are more experienced. You can kind of make sure you save the bad guy and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's like a really good group dynamic thing. It's like only give the players positive ways to interact with each other kind of thing.
Yeah, because you're really...
and again, that's no different than when you're performing live. Again, I could, I don't know how many people have experienced live performance here, but I can speak highly to that. In a live performance, if I were to be suffering with my performance, I have co-stars that will recognize it and come in and, quote unquote, bail me out, or they will be suffering and I can come in and bail them out, or, times when you go to a concert and you see like the bassist kind of like slapping the bass, and then he looks kind of awkward, but then you see the guitarist come out and just rip a big fat shred, and all of a sudden, guess what? Your attention now goes to the guitar player. You're not worried about what the bassist is doing anymore.
Yeah, it's a great translation. Like it feels perfect in the game because like you can see and feel like how that would work. Yeah, it is a really smart move by them.
Yeah, and out of all of us too, Storm has a tremendous amount of experience watching a lot of live music. Storm, a lot of what Simbu is saying resonates in live performance that you've seen too, right?
Absolutely. There was a time that I did live concert photography for bands in Milwaukee before COVID, and after that and some other issues why I stopped, and that's another topic for another day. But there's I definitely have seen like broken guitar strings on, it just happens. The string comes loose and you have your other bandmates to take up for you, or if the vocalist, like if it's downtime in between songs and you have to change your string, your vocalist will take over and get the crowd whatever, joke around and stuff. I've seen that as well. So it definitely did give that energy to the bands, your players, that you take care of one another, because bands do, if they are working together properly, they will take care of one another and won't let their performance fail, because for bigger
Technical
bands
difficulty.
Exactly. Even for bigger bands, like I've not seen any with Avatar, the band from metal band from Sweden, have got to be the tightest and best live band that I've seen. I've never seen them have issues where they have to swap out. So I don't know if it's just their performance, whatever. I have seen it with Slipknot, but those guys
maybe they have the best
roadies. Yeah. Well, it happens when the amount of people you have working with you is smaller.
Yeah,
you can control some of that, but I have seen quite a bit, like even with bigger bands, it does happen. So like those big, like Slipknot or Stone Sour, stuff happens and they just go with the flow. So it was nice to see that in Rock Band, that you can pick each other up, because I don't play myself playing the video game and playing with other people. There were some songs, like I might have played with Glenn and he would have to rescue me, because trying to play at Glenn level, which is another whole other thing in and of itself, but it was nice also that in Rock Band you could set your own level. So if he wanted to play at expert, I could play at medium. I think it was eventually Rock Band or one of the Guitar Heroes that let you select your own. And
it's interesting too, the difficulty aspect of it. When you are on expert, the highest level, you doing the guitar, for example, you are playing every single one of the notes that's in the guitar as it translates to the 5 buttons, of course. And then
Sorry, I got to interrupt it there. I have friends who he actually used to be in a drummer for a band, and from what he was telling me, he's talked to other people who are musicians, instrument players, and things like that. He says that the expert mode is not real. That's not the actual song itself. He says that hard on, I think, 120 per second speed, I believe it is the actual true like translation for the 5 buttons.
I've never heard that. Interesting. The only reason I say that is a lot of the when the music is transposed, from what I remember reading from Harmonix, when the music is transposed, they use software that pulls the notes and then assigns the notes into the 5 where it would appear in the 5 buttons if it's a guitar, the 4 pads if it's a drum, and then if you have the accessory, because there's an accessory to add the cymbals. I think it was Rock Band 2 and up. They can add the cymbal part, and then you of course have the foot stomp. From there, hard, they remove some notes. Medium, it's usually like half the notes that they end up removing, or they more so just like have you helps you to keep the beat. But that's interesting, Simbu. I'll have to look into that. I actually do want to look into that. From my source was something I read from Harmonix when they detailed the DLC process, but I'll definitely have to look into that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I encountered the same description somewhere too, and I mean it could be that both things are true. It might be their software pulls in this way and it records it this way, but then a real musician looks at that and says, "Well, this is what I would say would be a more accurate thing where you actually play it versus how the software happens to pick it up or something like that."
Yeah, right. And of course it could be downbeats versus how it translates visually in the game.
I read something actually about the newer, like I was trying to see like what the most recent one of these games that actually came out was, because it's really interesting how this was such a spiky popularity fad for like a few years on and off. But I saw some reference to like plans to make a guitar controller where there were 3 buttons, but each button had like an up and down position, so there were like more combinations actually possible, and somehow using that, I'm not sure how that would map to what that means when you're playing it. Like, I don't know. But I just thought that seemed interesting because I was just wondering what the thought process was there.
I would say at that point you would get the Rock Band 4 Pro guitar, which had the entire fretboard.
Yeah, because they introduced that with Guitar Hero 3, I believe. It was the Pro guitar where you each had 6 of the strings and then buttons to match every single one of where you would fret. And it's a cool concept, honestly, to be able to learn the song. But then it's like at that point, that's where other kind of the next progression or the next evolution of this would be something like Rocksmith, where you then have the game itself actually teaching you. But one of the things, so after my time with Rock Band, I of course learned how to play the guitar. I took lessons and everything like that. And obviously the playing the guitar absolutely does not translate to a real guitar. There is no comparison. There's no translation. It doesn't match. At very best, maybe it helps you to maintain or gain rhythm. For me, it did help with the strumming aspect, but that didn't matter at all because I'm left-handed. So I play real guitar with my left hand, but Rock Band, I use my right hand, and I play guitar with Rock Band guitar with my right hand. So for me, it really didn't translate at all. So it's kind of funny.
The drums, I would think the drums are probably the most direct, easy to translate. There's just a bit, like, obviously there's all, I'm not at all, degrading drumming as an instrument. I don't think as an instrument it's at all any simpler than anything else. But I think in terms of like translating to a simple kind of like video game style, exactly what's going on, it's probably a bit easier to make that match reality, I would guess.
One of our buddies, Nick, he actually played drums for like the longest time, and he had said that it's Rock Band itself is good for being able to have the beat and keep the beat and everything like that, but you would need to practice, because he used to tell us stories about how he'd practice for hours on end just sitting there and keeping the beat, and how obviously that's going to be the most important concept. And if Rock Band can help instill that, then maybe there's some translation that could be possible, especially when you add the cymbal accessory to your overall play.
Yeah, and I think, Jay Miels mentioned earlier how the drums are actually hard, and I agree to play, like, in terms of doing well easily to just pick them up. And I think part of that is, like, it takes a bit more muscle memory to be doing the right stuff and hitting the right things compared to, like, your fingers literally on buttons on a controller that you're already familiar with, or knowing how to talk or sing as a real person that does things in the world. So, like, it's definitely a bigger bridge, I think.
I think my understanding too with drumming, my brother growing up, he had a drum set in his bedroom, and our rooms were right next to each other, so my room would shake and all the pictures would fall off my walls. But my understanding too, when you're using your arms to bang the sticks, you also have to move your legs in a different rhythm too.
You got the kick pedal, right?
I can understand. Yeah, the pedal.
Nope. I think we are losing, or we might lose. Jamie, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. There we go.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what I just wanted to say.
Gotcha. No worries. But that's good. Good info. Good to kind of keep in mind. And for me too, like besides the keyboard, and honestly, I really didn't invest a lot of time in the keyboard, because by the time Rock Band 3 came out, I played it a little bit, but I had other events in my life that were kind of capturing my attention, so I kind of ended up diverting away from it a little bit. Then we also started getting into the 360s Connect, and doing like a little bit of that Dance Central, but that Dance Central and all that's a whole nother.
There were newer peripheral fads to be chasing at the time.
Exactly. Other peripherals. Let's stick with our Rock Band / Guitar Hero discussion.
I love Dance Central. I'm going to tell you about Robert, who's the deaf actor who stayed with us in Carbondale, who beat our score on Dance Central on a couple of songs, so that was fun. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
No.
Nerds.
Yes.
Hot calling the kettle black, my fellow nerd.
What's the last Rock Band or Guitar Hero everyone actually played?
Ooh,
Sounds like it was maybe Rock Band 3 for you, Inferno Fox.
I think Rock Band 3 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they made a fourth one, but I never played that.
And that was it, right?
My last. Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
Rock Band 4 was the last. Whichever one had Du Hast.
Oh, that was
the last one I played.
Okay. Yeah, Du Hast was in the third one.
I think I played Rock Band 2 like maybe once or twice when some friends of mine had gotten it. And yeah, like for me, my interest passed a bit quicker than the overall fads interest did. But it's what I was sort of curious about asking is the last game made was what? They made a Rock Band 4, right? And then there was like a Guitar Hero World Tour or something. Was that the one that did the live footage thing that came out, or did that ever actually get released?
I think so. I think that was it.
Yeah, let me look. Yeah, like the whole live footage. Yeah,
looks like it's literally called. No, that's not right. I was gonna say Guitar Hero Live, but that can't.
I think that is it, actually. Guitar Hero Live. I forgot I had a list of the games in the series here for reference. Yeah.
Yeah, Live was the final Guitar Hero.
And kind of when we're sorry, Astrimedes, was I am I derailing you on your conversation? I don't want to.
Nope, I was sort of just curious where everyone ended in terms of the overall, when was the last game made versus when we feel like people mostly stopped playing them.
Because I want to kind of talk about the end and how this overall series had ended. And Astrimedes is right. It's kind of one of those things where it really petered out and the whole popularity moved on as other peripherals and other gimmicks came in and came up. My opinion on this, and this is my opinion just based on everything I've read, is that the market for these just got way oversaturated. You had Guitar Hero games coming out every single year, and then you had variations like Lego Batman, Lego Rock Band. You had Green Day Rock Band, you had Beatles Rock Band, and then you had all the variations. I think there was
Aerosmith, Metallica.
Yeah, so like. All of these additional variations, plus the packs that they've released, like the country DLC pack.
Yeah, like the series packs and all that stuff.
Yeah. I felt like the high level of oversaturation is what killed it. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think that the overall saturation of it killed it. It was more the fact that I could not put in like Guitar Hero World Tour and play Metallica or play Aerosmith. I had to use those game discs. Now, if it would have been something like, hey, similar to what Halo 2 did with the multiplayer map pack DLC, where they gave you a disc, you downloaded the information to your system, and then you could play it from Halo 2.
It should be noted that Rock Band, you could do that. You can.
I was actually just going to say that too.
Because Rock Band 2, you can upload all of 1. 3, you upload 1 and 2, and then you had Lego Rock Band. You can upload it into Rock Band 1, 2, and 3. Everything Rock Band wise except Beatles. Beatles was the only one that only worked on Beatles. But Simbu, you do bring up an excellent point, because I don't have as much experience with the Guitar Hero 3 and beyond, especially the ones where they added in the instruments on the Hero series. But I believe you're right, where the expansion packs only worked on those for Guitar Hero, right?
Yeah. Like I said, if I wanted to play Guitar Hero Metallica, I had to put in the Guitar Hero Metallica disc. If I wanted to swap over to Aerosmith, I had to put in the Aerosmith disc. And of course, obviously, they had like Rock Band. They had the DLC packs you could buy from the store, the online stores and stuff like that. But the thing that they failed to do with Guitar Hero, which was again like that, was the fact that you had to consistently change discs to play the different games instead of like Rock Band, where all right, you're in Rock Band 2. Guess what? Put in your Rock Band 1 and upload stagger load your Rock Band 1 tracks to Rock Band 2.
And I think that speaks to, and I hate to say it, but I really don't, because I don't like the company. It speaks to the predatory nature of Activision. Activision took over the Guitar Hero series after Guitar Hero 2, where Harmonix themselves, who made Guitar Hero 1 and 2 and then the Rock Band series, Harmonix was obviously, all companies are in it to make money, but they wanted to have more accessibility and ease of use for the end user, which is why they did what they did. But Activision, they were in it just to sell copies, and if they flooded the market with as many different versions of Guitar Hero, they're going to do it to try and make a buck.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the basic, aside from, it being just an Activision thing, that's like the fundamental difference with like where the people who actually designed and kind of made the thing are the ones who are mostly driving like the direction of how the thing works, general decisions made that are going to impact income from the product and all that stuff, versus designed by committee and greedy executives in a much larger organization, which is inevitably how all design happens. Speaking from software development experience, it's like you're going to get those two results. Guitar Hero always has the like simpler and give me more money answer, and then Rock Band, though it is interesting to note, like Rock Band when it first came out was more expensive, but I think that's part of that was the gamble they had to play as a company. They knew they needed to make a certain amount of money back in order to keep going with all the kind of time and money investment they've already done to kind of get that rolling after the Guitar Hero license wasn't theirs anymore.
And try to recoup some of the costs for the
Exactly
manufacturing with the drums too, even like.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking they did with all.
I hate to say it, but Rock Band 1's setlist, even you've got costs to recoup for licensing and everything, but that setlist was fire. It was fantastic. Like,
oh yeah.
Yep. That was the first Rock Band game that I had played, and it was Simbu. That was over at our buddy Bill's house, and I remember playing that, and I'm like, this is. I haven't played a guitar game in a while, and Bill's like, "Oh yeah, this is for my nieces and nephews. It's really dumb." And I'm like, "Really? Because this is pretty cool. This is fun." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?"
Well, and yeah, of course, and that's again that was the ambitiousness of Rock Band right there, of Harmonix, because after this, the fair success of Guitar Heroes 1 and 2, I believe 2 was the more successful for them, because obviously Guitar Hero 1, nobody really knows what's going on. Then everyone kind of starts playing from their buddies, and similar fashion. Of course, Guitar Hero 2 becomes the more popular product, because, well, that's when everyone starts buying it because they know what they're getting into.
Yep.
And of course, with games at the time, I believe they were $50 a piece for the games themselves. But then you also got to think, well, it's Guitar Hero. I got to buy the instrument as well. I need at least one instrument to play, so you're looking at another $40, $50 on top of the cost of purchasing the game itself to start playing. And then, of course, another $40 to $50 to buy a second controller so you can play with a friend.
Yeah, and I mean, I think circling back to kind of the end of these games, I think that was part of the thing too. It's like, I literally remember talking to people being just like, it's such a pain in the butt to store these things. It's like I've had to redesign my basement or whatever, like just to keep these things somewhere. And like, it's true. So as soon as that becomes less appealing, it's like, this is taking up part of my house, and which is sort of some of my problem with VR2, which is obviously a separate conversation, but it's rough when you have to, like, not only is there like the cost investment, which makes it automatically prohibitive to people that don't have as much money. Like, there's a lot of people that have consoles but don't have the money to like dump $100+ to get up and running with some new game just to be able to play it with their buddies, and then there's also just the fact of now you have this hardware that you have to deal with and store and all that.
Yeah, and sorry, Simbu, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to piggyback off of Astrimedes there, not only to store it, but to just play the game alone.
Because then you gotta pull everything out and get it plugged.
Yeah.
And did you make sure to put in the right plug? Because maybe it was the one for the drums.
It's like worse than setting up a board game.
Which one?
Well,
it's a video game. Supposed to be easy.
Base one.
Right, and instead of having 4, knuckleheads just sitting on a couch next to each other, now you've got to have 4 knuckleheads, 1 sitting down playing, 2 stand, and 3, generally standing up, and you got to have enough space for 1 for all the area of effect, but you also got to have space so everybody can see the TV. Not only that, but you also got to have a TV big enough so everybody can actually see the TV.
And
I was going to bring up the exact same point on that same note of, like, the just thinking from a, accessibility in terms of financial viability perspective, like and all those things.
The poor person sitting has to deal with the other 3 people farting by him, and that's the worst.
And at least if you're all just sitting on the couch, you're all suffering together.
Exactly. So one of the things regarding cost, and that being a barrier, my time playing Rock Band 1 was great, but oftentimes the same songs would repeat over and over again. The cost prohibitiveness gets really into play once you factor DLC into the mix and downloading all the music and everything like that. And that's great for Rock Band because once you download a song, it's available on all the Rock Band games except Beatles Rock Band. But the problem is $2 a song, my dumb butt, I ended up downloading roughly 200 to 300 songs ourselves, take with it that what you will. But the idea that Guitar Hero maybe, and I don't know whether or not DLC for that worked for all of those entries or not, or just if that was prohibitive just for like World Tour, for example, you download DLC for that, if that just worked with that or any other features.
I can pretty confidently say I don't have experience with it, but I can pretty confidently say, based on the track record of the game, that it was specific to World Tour.
Ugh. So at least
that it would be specific to Metallica, it would be specific to Aerosmith, 3, 2.
And keep in mind, of course, that you download it all for the PS3, for example. You can't play it on the 360, and obviously vice versa. And then let's throw the Wii in here in the mix, because this was all during the Wii era, and obviously that was the weakest system of them all. But they did Guitar Hero and Rock Band games for the Wii, and they worked fine. But a lot of that functionality that I just mentioned about like Rock Band 2, have Rock Band track list go into Rock Band 2 and similar from 2 to 3, just didn't work. It was just whatever game that you played and you plugged in, plus any of the DLC that you played and downloaded. But because your grandma had a Wii, you could at least play guitar and drums with your grandma. So that, there's that. But
I just looked it up out of curiosity. Guitar Hero 5 is the first one that lets you put in the previous Guitar Hero game disc, World Tour, I think, and like port over all but 6 of the songs, I think it says, from that one. So took until Guitar Hero 5, after however many Rock Band games had already come out, for them to finally make a half-butt effort towards doing that.
Well, and what's really funny is Guitar Hero 5 isn't even the 5th entry in the system. It's closer to like the 8th or 9th.
Yeah, after all the weird, country and this and that. Yeah.
Yeah, except when you factor Aerosmith and Metallica and things like that.
One of the things I kind of want to end the conversation on is the bands and artists themselves, which, of course, you really had a diverse and wide selection. Simbu did a great job of mentioning some of the specific units themselves that were dedicated, such as Aerosmith and Metallica. One of the things that I noticed was there were bands like Led Zeppelin that purposely, not only did they make sure not to write out their music to these type of games, but verbally spoke against them, saying that they lacked that sort of creativity and lacked that sort of connectivity to the music itself. I don't want to make a statement or go down that hole, but what are your guys' thoughts about like big name bands themselves that purposely took the time to avoid these kind of games?
I think it is a mistake and a misunderstanding of what is being done with the the technology and what's involved with the game.
I will agree.
If those same bands, and I guarantee they have given their money to Apple and whatever, Apple probably has more control to do something they wouldn't expect with their content or in any way, shape, or form that would matter to them than sticking it in a game that's gonna literally no one's gonna have access to. It's on a console, whatever, basically means after a certain amount of years, no one will have access to the technology anymore in any meaningful way. So what's your concern about your content being on there?
Well, I guess if we want to, I guess I'll play devil's advocate on this one. And this is, again, speaking from performance background as well as, heavy with vocals. I mean, I could list my vocal credentials, but nobody wants to hear that. The thing is like, again, it comes down to how the game plays, how it performs. And for case in point with David Draymond's, famous growl voice, if you can't, if I hear that from when I'm playing if I'm playing the guitar and I'm listening to the vocal track being played in the background of, of the TV screen, I'm hearing the song as it's being sung. When I go to do it, I can't do it. The game is limited in that sense. So, and not to mention, something we all probably know with drums and especially with drums and guitar and keyboard, Inferno Fox, I'm sure you probably could attest to this. I'm not very versed in that one, but every time you miss, your part stops completely until you hit that next note. So if you miss a long hold, guess what? There's a whole part of that song that's just, crucial to the performance and the overall piece
Sound.
to the song itself.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Definitely, that makes perfect sense. I wasn't really considering it from that perspective, but yeah, it changes the presentation of the artist creation. So I could totally get that. I was thinking of it more from just a kind of like cold, your stuff's exposure to people level. Like, why would you not want that to happen, the inclusion? But that makes perfect sense. Just like you'd want approval over a commercial that your music was going to get played in.
Your purpose as a musician. If you're like Blink 182 and you're there to sell albums and make money, that's what you're going to do. But if you're an artist and you want to make music to make music, and you just want your music as a form itself and just in that form, then that does that absolutely makes sense, and it is a great point conceptually.
Right, and of course, Astrimedes and Storm, I'm not arguing against you. I fully agree that exposure, to, again, like Inferno Fox pointed out with Metallica, exposure to Metallica thanks to Stranger Things. And of course, there's I'm sure that for example, exposure to Disturbed by the movie Dawn of the Dead, with David Draymond singing that good old "Get Up, Come On, Get Down with the Sickness." And, the old big band style "Down with the Sickness" was great. But again, at the same time, I do have to agree with music artists, and if they feel that Rock Band or Guitar Hero is not really what they want their music to be portrayed in, I mean, creative rights, I'm a firm believer in, if you create it, the rights are yours.
Oh yeah, of course, they should get paid regardless, whatever. But yeah, it's a good discussion about something I wasn't immediately considering, like that would be the concern, is the presentation control.
A lot of them, I think it comes down to money. Honestly, for the bigger bands, the artistry is lost somewhere. That is just my opinion. And when it comes into, there's some, maybe Zeppelin having some control over it, but I doubt it. Like Prince didn't have his catalog available on anything, and only until after he was dead did it become fully available on any digital platform. So there's also the record labels that get involved in whether or not they will license to whoever is putting out the music or putting out the product. So you could have big names that want to be on these, because it all comes down to exposure. Because if you constantly hear that song on Rock Band, aren't you going to want to go out and buy it? It happened to me with Seven Dust. There was one Seven Dust song that we kept playing, was it Welcome to Your Nightmare? No, there was another one.
No, that is Avenged Sevenfold.
Yes, thank you. Seven Dust Sevenfold.
That is A7X.
Yeah, because of them, because of Rock Band, I went out and got that song. I was thinking Seven Dust. Why am I thinking of Seven Dust?
It actually, it's like a good opportunity for bands to have like their music exposed and like other people to discover them too.
Yep. And I think though it's just a lot more has to do with record labels having their hands in the pot, because unfortunately artists, once their music is recorded, until they've been in the business for years and years, or unless they have proper attorneys to make sure their contracts are okay, they don't really own their music, which is BS. And that whole industry is shady as crap. So remember Queen of the Damned, it's not a great movie, but I love that movie. The movie versions, you will hear Jonathan Davis singing. In the recorded versions, they are all artists that were available on Universal because he belonged to another label at the time and they would not let him appear on those songs on the soundtrack, but you can hear him in the movie, which is stupid. So I think that has a big thing to do with it. And,
Yeah.
Of
course, yep. That's going to be involved. Any discussion about money, the record labels or music money.
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
If I remember correctly, I do believe the Refugee makes an appearance on one of the Guitar Heroes.
Yes.
That's a good question. Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, I do believe it appeared in one of the Guitar Heroes.
There's Prayer of the Refugee. Rise Against. That was in Guitar Hero 3. But yeah, I don't see anything that says, Prayer of the Refugee is the name. That's by Rise Against. So either way, it's really, really interesting. One last topic before we call it. Favorite moment with Rock Band. I'm going to share mine a little bit later, but I just want to get your guys' favorite moments in Rock Band. Jamie Elms, I know you haven't played too much with us, but do you have a favorite moment with Rock Band or Guitar Hero?
Honestly, just with Rock Band, my favorite memory or moment with it is just getting to play with a whole bunch of people, which was a lot of fun. And also, too, going down what we talked about with discovering, bands I had never heard of before. If it comes down to like one song or two, that really makes me want to look them up and listen more to their music. So that's probably one of my favorite moments with that.
Very cool. Astrimedes, how about you? Do you have a favorite moment with the Rock Band or Guitar Hero series?
I'd say the two things that immediately come to mind is I always kind of like Queens of Stone Age singles, but it wasn't until playing Guitar Hero 3 a lot and playing the 3s and 7s song that I kind of got way more interested in like their sort of back catalog and sort of deeper cuts and bought all their albums and all that stuff. And then so that kind of like music exposure was like very memorable. Like I just remember when I started really liking that song. And then the other thing I'd say is I do kind of remember enjoying doing really bad David Bowie rendition playing Rock Band with people. Pretty sure there was alcohol involved also.
I would put money on it.
Oh man, it's sometimes the latency on these games would be tough with flat screen TVs. I know we didn't touch on that, but when you threw alcohol in the mix in that, oh man,
got to 1-2 whoa.
Storm, how about you? Favorite Rock Band Guitar Hero moment?
Probably watching you honestly play one of those songs on Expert. Because, Inferno Fox, I don't want to like give you a big head or ego or blow smoke up your butt, but you're I know, fantastic at these games. So just watching you and just like watching the song go by, probably one of my favorites. And hearing my husband do one of those songs, he sang, so that was fun. And I don't remember which one it was because that was forever ago now. But hearing him sing, that was fun.
That is quite memorable.
Yes.
Simbu, how about you? Favorite Rock Band or Guitar Hero moment?
I will honestly say the first time doing Down with the Sickness, the reaction on some of the people at the party that night when I filled in all the missing parts from like that 2-minute interlude.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I remember that. That's awesome.
The jaw drop of I won't do it here. If you look up the unedited version of Down with the Sickness if you want to hear it, and you can do that on your own. But yeah, the jaw drops, especially from me at the time.
Oh man, it was such a fun series, and I know there's always been talk about bringing Rock Band or whatnot back, but they have so many like little logistics, like the space issue. Astrimedes, you did a really good job of summarizing, and maybe they could figure out something with the songs and make that a little more easier or approachable. But I don't know. Anyway, I just want to say thank you again to everybody for joining. This was a ton of fun.
Your favorite moment?
We'll get to that. I just want to say
Wait.
to say thank you again to everybody for joining us. I just want to say a quick heads up for a video coming this Saturday. I have a video running again through one of my most underappreciated games. This one in particular is Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge on the Game Boy. Nice, short but to the point video going over a really good title. I really didn't discover until a couple years ago, but was really surprised at how well that game is and how good it was. Again, thank you again to the cast for joining us. Simbu Darkfang, thank you so much. He is, of course, our level 5 grandpa and a main actor for Basement of the Dead in Aurora, Illinois. Again, Basement of the Dead in Aurora, Illinois. Thank you so much, Simbu.
Always a pleasure.
And of course, we also have my partner in crime, Jamie Owls. Jamie Owls, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Astrimedes, he is the one of the developers and co-owners of Second Place Games. Astrimedes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me a place to rant and guess about things that other people don't want to hear me talk about.
But isn't that what podcasts are for? Although that's more of maybe that's a political thing. I don't know. And last and certainly not least, Stormrosesky. You can find her at her Twitch and YouTube channels of Stormrosesky. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And you know what? If any of you want to check out Rocksmith on Twitch, there is a person that I follow that plays the game. So it's pretty cool. He is Roop. If you want the information, just get a hold of me. Anyway, it's been great to be here.
Thank you so much. And that'll go ahead and wrap us up. We'll see everybody again next week, Tuesday,